Am I the a-hole for not apologizing to the person who I had bullied previously? This has been dwelling on my 17 meters mind lately, so I decided to share. To start things off, my parents have a bad relationship. They would argue over anything, no matter how big or small. My older siblings said this has been happening since before I was even born. As you can imagine, this took a toll on me. I was a problem child and was very aggressive. I used to also make a fuss and argue about everything at home, and in lower school I was a bit of a class clown. Always shouting out, talking and making fun of people, nothing too much, just a couple of insults to people here and there. I wasn't the most popular in school and would often get insulted back, but I didn't really care and was not affected. When it came to high school, I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, so instead of just making remarks here, my friend and I started picking on people, especially this one girl in our class. I'll call her Stacy. Now, Stacy was extremely smart and was getting top marks in every subject. It started off with calling her a nerd and it escalated very quickly. It got quite bad, and one time she just ran out of class and cried, and this is where the teachers intervened. However, as we were still in the second year of high school, we just got told off, which was very poor from the school. Despite getting bullied, Stacy never once said anything back. It was also at this time where my friends started shoplifting and smoking, and I didn't want any part of that and left the friend group. I hanged out with better people and it was much better. I stopped the insulting and arguing back. I started focusing on my schoolwork and was doing quite well. For the next 3 years of high school, Stacy was in my class, but I never sat next to her or even spoke to her much. But when college started, we both stayed at the same school, we picked the same subject, and the class was tiny, around 10 people altogether. In the class was also my best friend, Josh. He wasn't part of the group that bullied Stacy. So for the duration of college I got to know Stacy a bit more. It was awkward at first, but we got along. The fact that I used to bully her was always in my head, and I made sure to be kind to her. We were not really friends, but we were good classmates. We would frequently ask each other about homework, tests, and ask each other for help, etc. I never really spoke to her outside the classroom. Stacy was very nice, but I was getting the vibe that she didn't like me, which is completely justified. I said this to Josh and he said he was getting the same vibe towards me and also himself. I'm not too sure why Stacy would hate my friend, as he has never been rude to anyone. Well, after this I really felt guilty, but I never got the courage to apologize. College has finished and I don't think I will ever see her again. Witter for not apologizing? Edit, thanks for taking the time out to reply to this, means a lot. Just to clear up, I never intended to make it seem like I'm using my household issues and my friends at the time as an excuse for my actions. What I did was wrong in so many ways, and it shouldn't have been done regardless of the situation I was in or who I was hanging around with. I've now realized that I've been so ignorant and cowardly this whole time. I never put myself in her shoes at all and never considered how she felt. I've had plenty of opportunities to apologize to her, but I can't change the past. The only thing I can do now is message her a long overdue apology. Am I the a-hole for washing kids' artwork off my property? My neighbor's kids, 7 and 9, vandalized my driveway with elaborate chalk art. I caught them when I came out to walk my dog. They had covered the length of the crosswalk and my, admittedly large, driveway completely. Apparently it was for an online art contest, and they needed the space, and had to take pictures when they were done. I think they, or at least their parents, should have asked me first before claiming my property. I immediately told them to move, grabbed my hose and washed it off. The older child started to cry very loudly and the younger followed, and they ran off. Later in the day I got a phone call from their mother about how they're heartbroken that I could be so cruel, and that they weren't causing any permanent damage. She said they would have cleaned up after they were done, and I should apologize to them. I think that's besides the point, but feel like I may be the arsehole because yes, they weren't causing any permanent damage, and I wasn't going to use the space. but I still think I had every right to get the graffiti off my property. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for snapping at my mill and leaving the family gathering when she basically called my wife a failure? My wife C, F32, and I, M31, grew up together. When we were kids, me and my brothers were her only friends. She was badly bullied at school and called AITA because of her weird mannerisms and speech. She was very quiet, but had a totally different, lively energy at my house. 2 years ago, I had a student with autism that reminded me way too much of my wife, which brought back forgotten memories, and made me push her to get a diagnosis. It made many things clear and helped us in many ways. Looking back, it was obvious. My wife still struggles with keeping friends, empathy and showing emotion. She has a job that doesn't require a degree because university would have been too stressful. A few days ago, we had a family gathering at my mill's house. Like always, she was making subtle comments on how C wasn't being a good guest despite trying so hard. We had been planning to tell her about the diagnosis to maybe give an answer to some things since before the lockdown, and everyone there knew about it already, so we did. It didn't go well. She didn't believe it at first, then said that hadn't my family coddled my wife so much, she would have been successful, that we were just trying to cover up her failures with this label. We started arguing and she asked C, who was quiet the whole time, to tell us that she could have tried a little harder to stay in the path my mill had paved for her. I interrupted because she didn't react, and my mill got angry at her, telling her to speak for herself and asking if she had raised a human or a machine. I told her that she's the only one to blame for whatever expectations she had that my wife didn't reach, because not only did she not give her any support, she let her daughter struggle by herself without even having a label. We kept arguing and my wife asked me to stop, but I refused unless my mill apologized to her. She excused herself to the kitchen, visibly upset, and my mill said it was my fault. I got up and said sorry to my family, who were on my wife's side, but not to my mill. I was almost crying of anger at this point, so I told my wife I would be waiting in the car and we went home. She scolded me saying I should have ignored it because her mum would keep doing it anyway. My mill won't talk to me. Even my family is saying I should have been less rude because I was in my mill's house. I thought I did the right thing defending her, but I'm conflicted. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife's child I don't want to know him? Basically, I was married to my ex-wife in 2005 when I was 22, I'm 37 now. She had a child at the time I thought was mine. After nearly a year of us being in a relationship, we split up and we went our separate ways. I was trying to get custody and she admitted she cheated and he wasn't likely mine, so did a DNA test and proved he wasn't mine and was an ex's. I basically decided I couldn't raise him, so we went our separate ways and that was it until recently. All told, I had about 18 months thinking he was my son. A couple of months ago, this boy at 15 gets in touch and asks me what happened. Basically his mum lost the plot and was admitted to a psychiatric ward and his bio dad died. I explained what happened between us and the history. He was grateful and asked if we could stay in touch as we had this link and he still shared my surname. The mum and his dad never married. I said no but best of luck etc. I thought that was the end of it, even though he seemed upset. But my mum gets in touch saying he's been in touch with her and told the story. She said she's disappointed and thinks I should be more compassionate and should at least be a better person, seeing as I thought I was his dad for a while. I don't think I'm obligated to. But I did think I was his dad for a while and I think he's had a hard time. Could I handle it differently? Edited to add the suggestion of someone, it fucked me up in a lot of ways. It took me a lot of work to get my head sorted and move on, but it's always been raw. I don't want to set myself off again and I think this young guy doesn't need someone like me in his life. Am I the a-hole for refusing to know this boy? Am I the a-hole for sending a rich girl the link to Common People by Pulp? Super petty, this is your warning. Please do judge honestly though. Throw away because I don't want all my friends to know how petty I am. Right, let's get to it. I am 20. Live with my boyfriend, M20. We aren't rich, we both work hard, pandemic sort of fucked us over, but we're getting by. Which is a lot more than other people are saying. We both go to the same university, and have an amazing amount of financial aid, and so, again, we are really lucky in a lot of aspects. But we aren't rich. One of our friends is obscenely rich. She, 21, has 2 sports cars, and tends to buy high-end brands, that sort of thing. On one hand, I genuinely enjoy her company, because she is nice, but there is always the feeling of fuck, am I gold digging, you know? So, we're in a group chat, me and Thar BF, and 2 other friends, and her. This is the main friend group, and she sometimes makes weird comments. Like once, she said, "Oh man, I wish I was poor, so I wouldn't be judged for going to a thrift," and it grates my nerves, because these are very weird comments to make, especially how she thinks poverty is. Sometimes she talks about how my boyfriend and I are lucky to have financial aid, as if we had a choice in that. I've talked to her before, and told her that being poor isn't a fashion trend, and that we struggle a lot, and the security of knowing you can always survive fucking healthcare, and that you're not a crisis away from eviction, isn't a cool feeling, and it's a stressful thing, and that these comments made me feel my struggles are trivialized. Today, she said in the group chat, "Man, being poor isn't really a bad thing, it teaches you a lot of self-reliance, like I don't even know how to cook an egg." I was fed up with these comments, so I sent her a link to Common People by Pulp, and said, "Hey, I think this describes you pretty well." She was not happy, and with the exception of my boyfriend, who laughed his ass off, my friends all think I'm a major ass for it. Judge me, I know this is petty, but am I the a-hole? For those who don't know, Common People is about this rich kid who wants to live like a common person, and whenever the singer describes stuff like "pretend you got no money," she responds with a "that's so funny." Edit, here's a link to the song https://m youtube.com/watch v equals yadboduf if you want to hear it. Am I the a-hole for telling my BF he has to shower in the evening otherwise he can't stay over anymore? Long story short, my BF of 7 months is the type of person who showers in the morning. This is fine. I'm a shower in the evening type, but whatever. The problem we're having is that he has been spending the night at my place recently because his flat has essentially his flatmate's entire family sleeping in the lounge because of sea stuff. The problem is that he refuses to shower in the evening. Even if he's been to the gym and smells bad, he still refuses to shower. He also tends to walk his dog around my yard just before bed in bare feet and then jumps into bed without washing his feet, and my sheets end up with grass stains and dirt on them. I don't consider myself OCD, but this really bugs me, and I've asked him repeatedly to shower before bed, but he refuses or makes a fuss about it, accusing me of trying to parent him or micromanaging his life. I think I might be being TA because it's not like he goes days and days without washing. He showers every morning. I just don't like that he doesn't shower after the gym/walking around barefoot outside/running etc. and then gets into bed like he's clean. Am I the a-hole if I put my foot down and say he can't stay over unless he showers before bed? Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more juicy Reddit relay content.